Hi Gemini, welcome to your December forecast. This is probably going to be a bigger month for you because you have a lot of things going through your seventh house of relationships. We have health, we have work, we have relationships, and we have finances that are going to be pretty big themes for you this month. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to be looking at my phone on my notes because my laptop is not working right now, so I'm sorry if you see me looking down. On the first, Mercury, which is important because it's your chart ruler. This is the planet of communication, how we interact with other people, what we're thinking about, what we're talking about, how we're talking about it, and who we're talking about it with is going to be going through your 8th house of really things that have to do with how you're tethered to other people energetically or financially. So this is a really intense sort of transformative house that has to do with either the transformation of our bodies, the inner transformation of like letting go of things that we feel shameful or doubtful over. It can also be where we overlap with other people in terms of agreements and intimacy and trust. So I always say it's anything from taking out a loan at the bank to taking a pinky promise very seriously with somebody that you're sleeping with. It has a lot to do with basically the expectations, the maybe non-verbal trust related agreements that we have with other people, and most of the time finances that are a little bit more complicated. So this is less about, borrowing $20 from a friend and more about paying your taxes, taking out a loan, paying off student loans, things like that. So having Mercury enter here is just going to bring your sense of where your focus is, what you're thinking about, or details to this particular area of the chart. You can just be getting more into like intense themes or taboo things, like watching more true crime content, or really getting into spirituality, or really talking about the deeper things in therapy. This is going to be an important area for you to focus on this month because Mercury is going to station retrograde. So that means that there's going to be maybe a reconsideration of these themes, or they'll be coming up in a way where they are hashed out differently than they were initially thought about or handled the first time around. On the 3rd, Venus is going to be in your 5th house and it's going to be leaving your 5th house, but before it completely leaves and ingresses into your 6th house, it's going to square Pluto in your 8th. So romantic and creative endeavors can really be intensified with this. Usually I would say with Venus being the planet of love, money, beauty, pleasure, temptation, things that feel good, that going through the 5th house is usually very enjoyable. This is a lot of pleasure, a lot of ease when it comes to selfishness, getting what you want, enjoying yourself, having fun, maybe having some beneficial romantic connection, sleeping with somebody. Having this square to Pluto being very intense, very transformative, very much revealing of the harsher truth sometimes. That square can be something that is very revealing within a romantic relationship. It can be a pregnancy scare. It can be the clash of your creative endeavors or the things that you want for yourself and finances really hitting a head to that. Squares don't have to be the worst thing in the world. It's often just friction. It's some sort of discomfort that isn't there for no reason, but rather to inspire you to do something about it or to make a decision or make some sort of change. Again, this has to do with what you want, what makes you happy, what fulfills you, and then how that is related to somebody or something else that has some sort of power or control over you. On the 4th, Venus is going to enter your 6th house. So the next day, as it leaves your 5th house and has that intense moment, it'll head into your 6th house, which is your work, your routine, your lifestyle, your productivity, the labor that is required at your job, how you help other people. It's your health. It is the struggles of life in general. It is really your day-to-day like activities and your appointments, what time you get up in the morning, what food you eat, what time you go to sleep, etc. So this is going to bring that sense of ease, pleasure, and enjoyment to your work, again, your health, your productivity, your habits. You might just find that your day-to-day gets a little bit smoother or easier or more enjoyable. On the 5th, Venus in your 6th house is going to be in a very supportive aspect to Saturn in your 10th house. So Saturn is the planet of restriction, discipline, responsibility, kind of doing things the grown-up way, taking the, I would say, So Saturn is the planet of discipline, restriction, limitation, really doing things the right way, executing things, being very mature in handling those things. So having a supportive aspect between a very pleasurable planet of temptation and things that feel good, things that we want to enjoy in a frivolous, more superficial way, and a supportive aspect to Saturn being, taking something seriously, handling things the right way, being the grown-up in the situation. It's very positive in terms of hiring a commitment to something or taking something that does feel good a little bit more seriously. Because this is going to be between your 6th house and your 10th house, it could be a financial promotion. It can be being appointed to a higher position. It can be getting more public recognition for the efforts that you put into something. If it's not so relative to the actual role or the career of what you do for work, it might just be a more public achievement of something that you poured a lot of energy into. This is really good professionally. It's really good for establishing yourself. It's really good for workplace habits that support your independence. And again, things that other people can see about you. Something's paying off very positively between these two areas of the chart. On the 7th, Neptune is going to station direct in your 10th house. It's been retrograde since June 30th, and Neptune is really the planet of deception, of creativity, spirituality. It is a very beautiful planet, but it's also very manipulative in its beauty. It can be, the higher octave of pleasure, where the things that do feel very good and are very intoxicating and are very beautiful are also the things that can get us in a lot of trouble. So having it go retrograde throughout the summer can sometimes be where we have some sort of brain fog or confusion, or we're not seeing things entirely too clearly. There's a sense of romanticizing something, having an illusion around it, just not interpreting it with all of the clarity in the world. So having it stationed direct can sort of have this feeling of pulling back the curtain and having to accept the reality of something, and kind of having that daydream or that blurring of the edges become a lot more clearer. It doesn't have to be the most harsh awakening in the world. Having it in the 10th house can be feeling a lot more clear about your creative pursuits, about how you want to position yourself in the world, about what sense of authority you want to hold to the public eye, about the way that you want to be perceived or represented, or what sort of legacy that you want to leave. You can just become a little bit more clear when it comes to these things. And if you feel very confused about them since June 30th, since the summertime, they can start to become a little bit, easier for you to have like cold, hard evidence and clarity on, rather than just this blurry mess of, I might want to do this, or this might be a goal that I have, or you're sort of kind of making progress, but not really. On the 10th, Venus is going to oppose Jupiter in your 12th house. So Venus is going to be in your 6th house of work, health, routine, lifestyle, productivity. We've already talked about this, but it's going to be in a need for balance aspect with Jupiter in your 12th house, which is your dreams, your psyche, your intuition, your mental health, your psychological standing. It's your secrets, your sense of loneliness or isolation, being alone with yourself, spiritual awakening, healings, etc. So having an opposition between the two is actually quite benefic, because both of these planets typically want to give you things more than they want to take from you. They want to give you opportunities, they want to give you good luck, they want to give you pleasure, they want to give you a sense of ease and enjoyment and a little bit of wiggle room to have what is like a gift that it's giving you. The only problem I would say is that sometimes it can exasperate things or make them a little bit too much and inflate things. However, this aspect is usually going to be far more beneficial than it is problematic. This will be happening again on the axis of your 6th and your 12th house. So this can be an emphasis on health, on any sort of things that are connecting mind, body, and spirit. Basically, the 6th house is more the physical realm. It's your work, it's your job, it's your health, it's your, again, like your lifestyle, day-to-day things. And the 12th house is more metaphysical. It's the escape from the real world. It's things that maybe we can't, see or touch in real life, but rather that we can feel and experience because it's happening up here and in here. So to have a connection between the two, you might just be somehow connecting those two realms, the physical realm and the metaphysical realm, and maybe having a little bit of a spiritual awakening, maybe somehow applying like newfound affirmations or things that you're learning in therapy, or these things that you're trying to implicate in terms of your faith into your day-to-day life, into your habits and into your routines. Or vice versa, where it's like you're making changes to your health because you're working out, or now you've taken meat out of your diet, or now you're done drinking and now that's affecting your mental health in a way that's supporting it, making it more positive. Sorry, there's something in my eye, so if you see me blinking a million times, it's because there's literally been an eyelash like lodged in my eye for a month now, and it just makes itself known every now and then. On the 12th, there's going to be a new moon in your 7th house. So this is going to bring a new beginning, a new sense of a door opening, a chapter beginning in your relationship sector. So this can be really good for the conception of a new romantic partner, a business partnership, anyone that's close to you, or any sort of agreements that you're making with people that have a shared goal with you. So this can just be interpersonal relationships, like your best friends, your family, but it can usually be something where you are, again, like verbally or non-verbally in cahoots with somebody and making a deal where it's like, we're working on this together, we're heading in this together, we are undertaking this together. So to have a new beginning here is usually very exciting, because you're opening a door to now being in collaboration or partnership with somebody somebody or something. I would say that there is a little bit of a deceptive nature to it with Neptune being so activated. So you just want to make sure that you are really dotting your I's and crossing your T's this month, because with Mercury stationing retrograde and it being your chart ruler and that already being in a little bit of a condition of communication being quite clouded, and then with Mercury also coming into harsh aspects with Neptune, which is really us not really interpreting things, clearly or accurately, and then having a new beginning that can kind of be maybe stepping foot into something so excitedly under the impression that it's going to be this amazing thing, or maybe it's been sold to you with a lot of optimism, or maybe you're kind of walking into something with a lot of blind faith. It's not to say, it's too good to be true, or you shouldn't, be too happy about something just in case, but rather that you just want to watch where you're stepping. On the 13th, Mercury retrograde, or Mercury is going to station retrograde in your 8th house. So this can be, again, setbacks or reconsiderations to themes regarding complicated finances, how you're tethered to other people, or any sort of energetic undertaking that sort of overlaps you with other people, or you within yourself, you versus yourself, and having a period of personal transformation. Mercury retrograde in the 8th house, I feel like, can be quite frustrating, especially just in terms of usually where we need to tie up loose ends financially. This makes me think of when we have, subscriptions that we haven't been using for months, but we've been getting charged for it because we just keep forgetting or keep putting it off to get around to it. It can be where we are realizing, oh my God, I've accumulated so much interest on this loan and I didn't even realize that was part of the agreement. It can be something is past due and you had no idea about it. It can be some sort of just, again, confusion, a resurfacing or a reconsideration around these themes. It doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. It can even just look like, instead of something accidentally sort of coming back to bite you, you revisiting something on purpose. Maybe now you're able to pay off a loan that you had to put on a pause for a few months. Maybe there's something where you are revisiting a contract and you're editing it a little bit. This can also be energetic contracts with other people, like revisiting the past relationships, things that you were legally or contractually obligated to that had to do with other people. This can be things like child support. It can be things like, again, student loans. It can be any sort of overlap with those things. So to have Mercury retrograde here, it's likely that something from the past will sort of resurface, or you are now approaching something with a newfound perspective and you just want to, again, navigate very carefully. I would try to avoid signing any contracts right now, just with what's going on in the sky. But if it's absolutely something that you cannot, delay or put off, or you could just be facing a lot of delays and, obstacles with you trying to get something done, I would say you want to triple check everything and just, go over the details a million times. If it's something very important, try to have a lawyer look over it. Those things are going to be what I would suggest the most. On the 17th, the sun in your 7th house is going to square Neptune in your 10th house. So this has a lot to do with your closest relationships. This is the people close to you. It's your business partnerships, your romantic relationships, especially if you're in a marriage or a committed relationship. Anyone that's kind of in your vicinity that, again, you are partnered with in some sort of way is going to be in a conflicting aspect to Neptune that's transiting your 10th house of your career, your public image, your reputation, really your public standing and how people are perceiving you based off of the way that you are asserting yourself or not asserting yourself. So to have a little bit of a conflicting aspect here can have a lot to do with how the people that you surround yourself with or are closest to you with are either helping or hurting you when it comes to accomplishing your goals, the way that you are, again, kind of having like, what is this PR for yourself, this public sort of persona, or with any sort of conflict just between career and relationship. I think that that's very common. It's like, this can be you getting a promotion in your job and then hiding it from your partner, and there being a little bit of secrecy there, or missing information, or vice versa. It can be that there's some sort of layer of unanswered questions, missing information, deception, manipulation, and if it's not out of malice, just general confusion and a blurred edge when it comes to those two areas of your chart interacting with one another. On the 22nd, the sun is going to enter your 8th house. So this is going to bring the focus to, now again, your finances, intimacy, personal transformation, and how you are tethered to other people. So on the 1st of the month, we had your chart ruler go into your 8th house. This brings conversations, the focus, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about, and who you're talking about it with to those themes. So by the time the 22nd rolls around, we've already had enough momentum in this area where it's become a little bit more of a focal point in your brain. And now the sun coming here is bringing more illumination to it. It's shining light on it. It's bringing attention to it in a way where now all the focus in your life is sort of kind of going to this area of the chart. Now we're moving on the descendant area, so your 7th house of relationships, your 6th house of work, health, and routine, and then how you overlap with other people in your day-to-day life in that way. So everything's sort of being tied together here by the end of the month. On the 23rd, Mercury retrograde goes from your 8th house back into your 7th house. So it's still retrograde, but what it's doing is retracing its steps from familiar territory in your 8th house in Capricorn and now revisiting Sagittarius to your 7th house of relationships. So it's very likely that when I talk about this Mercury retrograde with you guys in particular, finances can be very present here. I think for a lot of people though, it's going to be how you're energetically tied to other people, because with that Mercury retrograde now saying, okay, there is some things that are up in the air in regards to connection or overlap with other people, with establishments, with law enforcement, anything like that. We're now revisiting our relationships and the people close to us that maybe were involved in this or helped us get here or had to do with this thing that we're dealing with in this area of the chart. So this can really be retracing your steps when it comes to how you are meshing with other people, how you invest versus how somebody else invests into your bond or relationship, regardless of what the relationship modality is, and really finding balance within an agreement. I think that this can manifest a million different ways for people. Again, this makes me think of like the most practical thing. It's like, you know, a couple gets divorced or something and you guys are, dividing your assets, but then you guys also have to reestablish, or you have to revisit the relationship itself and what that meant in order to like communicate with each other effectively. And it can bring things up from the past, old, relevant details and stuff like that. Attention to detail, that's very mercurial as well. Those are the sort of things that I see with overlapping the 8th house and the 7th house. On the 25th, Venus in your 6th house is now going to be in a trine to Neptune in your 10th house. So this is really supportive. It can be slightly deceptive in the sense that sometimes trines can be so harmonious that they are overlooked or taken advantage of or not recognized for how easy it is to like get away with something or embark on something. Again, this is usually going to be a very positive aspect, so I doubt that it's going to be a problematic more than it would be supportive for you. But again, this is between your 6th house of work, health, routine, your everyday lifestyle, your productivity, your ability to execute things and get things done, into your 10th house of your public recognition. Again, your support, your career, your ability to establish yourself, assert yourself, your independence, what other people can see about you in a very public way. So this can be very supportive when it comes to, again, efforts paying off, public recognition, and usually just very beneficial results from something you have put time and effort into, kind of taking you up a notch, taking you up a level. So throughout the month, again, we're seeing this pattern of your 6th house and your 10th house working hand in hand with one another, where it's like there's efforts, there's something in your everyday routine, there's something in your lifestyle or something with your health and the very mundane details of life supporting what is, what everybody else can see about you, what is being posted on social media, what is being recognized in the workplace, what your boss is seeing about you. There's support between the two. So it's very beneficial. I think for your career this month, you're going to be getting like a little bit of a revved engine. Anything that might have been slowed down again with that Neptune retrograde is starting to pick up the pace again. On the 27th, there's going to be a full moon in Cancer in your 2nd house. So this is going to be an ending or a full circle moment or just the tying up of loose ends in regards to something financial. This can be your income, something that you possess, something that you own, something that is in your name. It can be your standards, your self-worth, your boundaries with somebody, the way that you value yourself or what is of value to you in your life. So this is going to be a closing of a chapter with any sort of finance, investment, personal values. Again, this is actually going to be a callback to July 17th, because this is when we had a new moon in Cancer. So whatever started or began back for you in the middle of July is now coming full circle. It doesn't have to mean that if something amazing happened, it's now coming to an end and it's going to be awful, but rather that there's just a culminating moment to something that was maybe first beginning or was like conceived back then, and that's starting to materialize now. Are you seeing the fruits of your labor? A full moon in the 2nd house makes me think of like something that you invested in paying off, or something that, was a big purchase that you split between payments, you pay the last payment, or something where you've been working really hard towards getting a promotion, and with what's going on in your 10th house, you get that promotion, and now it's like you're getting this sort of big moment in regards to your income boosting. A full moon in Cancer in general is typically very emotional. It's going to be at 4 degrees, which is a Cancer degree, so it's really doubling down on this idea of home, family, living situation, property, any sort of like things regarding like literal real estate estate, or things that are maybe more emotional that have to do with like your ancestry or generational themes and things like that. So because the second house too is usually your basic needs, your resources, also like what you're eating and how you nourish yourself, both literally and spiritually, this can be a breakthrough or an exposure moment or a coming full circle when it comes to something like your living situation or having access to basic resources or the money that you need or is available to you to kind of make sure all your ends are met in your life. On the 27th, so the same day actually, Chiron is going to station direct in your 11th house of friends, associates, big dreams, and your sense of belonging in the world. And this is going to bring a call back to July 23rd. So we're seeing things that were going on for you in the middle of the summer, sort of coming full circle now, one by one, particularly in the more public area of the chart and things that have to do with your self-worth, your money. And again, there's a sort of like juggling here because the 8th house, the 2nd house, those two things have to do with both things that you own versus things that you share with other people, both literally, this is mine, this is yours, and then the overlap of energetic, emotional, spiritual overlap, boundaries with me and how that affects you and vice versa. So I think seeing things sort of unravel and culminate from what was going on 6 months ago, you've probably had progress within these things, and it can have a lot to do with either your bigger dreams, your bigger vision for what you want in this world, in this lifetime, or how you interact with others, because Chiron has a lot to do with wounds, sensitivities, where we have a chip on our shoulder, where there's something that maybe isn't fully resolved in terms of pain or something that can still sort of sting a little bit. So having that station direct in your 11th house, which again is like your vision board, it's like bigger dreams, where you sort of see yourself in regards to how you gain public support from friends, followers, your network, the people that you work with, your acquaintances, the people that follow you on social media, things like that. There might have been what was like the last 6 months or so, a healing period, or just a lot of maybe self-reflection on how you interact with other people, how you do have this sort of standing in the world, where you do find yourself connecting with certain groups or communities or demographics of some sort. So for some people, it could have been that, I've been saying for everybody across the board, during Chiron retrograde, you might have thought that something that once hurt you very bad, like no longer hurt anymore. You're like, I'm over it, I'm good, I'm fine. And now as it stations direct again, you might start to be like, actually, okay, this thing is still a little bit triggering, or like this thing just still stings a little bit, and maybe I thought I was over it, but I still have some more work to do. Or vice versa, maybe there was something that was a little bit crippling in regards to your sense of belonging, your social life, how you kind of get along with other people or don't get along with other people. And maybe throughout that retrograde, you've had time to work on it and to actually like do the hard work and get to the root of it. And now you are like, actually, I am healed and I can move forward a little bit more efficiently. On the 28th, Mercury retrograde in your 7th house is going to conjoin Mars, and both are going to square Neptune in your 11th house. So this is the big day that across the board for everybody, I'm like, oh, just like stay inside, don't talk to anybody, be careful with the way that you're communicating, because Mercury, first of all, is already going to be retrograde, so it's in a little bit of a positioning where it's not functioning too smoothly, it's not operating as it typically would. It's in Sagittarius, where it can be a little bit exaggerative, a little bit, telling white lies, not so entirely honest, or stretching the truth, or not being entirely accurate, with a conjunction to Mars being the planet of action, assertion, aggression, how we defend ourselves, how we stick up for what we believe in, how we sort of have what is this fighting spirit coming out. People can start to be, I've been saying, just like very loud and wrong. Like people might be defending something, fighting for something, coming at you for something that isn't even entirely accurate or isn't correct, or they don't even really know what they're fighting about. We're kind of losing the plot a little bit, especially with that square to Neptune, which is really clouding our vision, really pulling the curtain back, pulling the wool over our eyes. We're seeing a blurred image of something that is completely deceptive or just untrue or inaccurate, and getting so worked up over it, only to find out a little bit later that like we weren't even looking at the real thing. We weren't even looking at something honest, true, or the reality of a situation. So I would just be very careful. Again, this is your relationship areas. It's your 7th house of your very close relationships, your clients, your business partnerships, the people close to you in your life, your romantic relationship, and then your 11th house of friends, associates, how the world sort of supports you. And what I mean by that is, again, like the way that you assert yourself on social media. It's if you are an authority to a particular group of people, an organization, a demographic, a political party, whatever it is, having a square between that and so much confusion in the air. It's like what you are trying to handle over here with the people that know you best, and then these other people who are viewing you on a more public level, but like typically support you or don't support you. There's just so much misinformation, and it's like everybody is not hearing each other in a way that is clear, accurate, or again, real. Just be very careful with your communication on that day. It could be bumping of the heads with friendships, people that you're working with, again, clients, not seeing eye to eye, a lot of misleading energy, I think publicly and like on a collective level. This day is going to be absolutely chaotic, especially like in the news, politically, etc. On the 29th, Venus is going to enter your 8th house. So we had the Mercury on the 1st enter your 8th house, and then we had on the 22nd the Sun enter here, and now Venus is joining the party. So any sort of complications that were happening the first 3 weeks of December might start to ease up as Venus makes its way into your 8th house. So just try to take a deep breath and not get too fussy or frustrated or make any impulsive decisions or, permanent decisions in regards to, again, finances, contracts, things that have to do with other people. Because as Venus gets here, literally right around New Year's, it warms it up. It brings it some ease. It gives it a little bit of a band-aid and soothes it a little bit, because this is going to bring a sense of pleasure, ease, or even help and support and assistance from other people when it comes to your money, those agreements and things that overlap with other people, or personal transformation. So this is really good for even like sexual endeavors, with hooking up with somebody, with getting closer to yourself, with intimacy, and with personal transformation and trust as well. And then on the 31st, on the last day of the year, we have Jupiter stationing direct in your 12th house of your psyche, dreams, mental health, spirituality. And this is going to be a very interesting day, or a very interesting transit, a very symbolic sort of transit, because we have Jupiter stationing direct at 5 degrees, which was the same degree that it was at on the 28th when we had the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So you had a lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, this like ending on crack on October 28th around Halloween. And that was closing a cycle that began back for you in late 2021. We'll say November, December of 2021, you began a cycle in regards to your 12th house. Again, dream, psyche, intuition, secrets, hidden information, illness, health, isolation, being cut off from people, being separated from people, loneliness, addictions, escapism, therapy, anything medical, anything having to do with like pharmaceuticals, drugs, again, anything that you use as some sort of vice or crutch. You had a cycle begin over there, and that doesn't have to be inherently bad either. That could be like, again, starting a therapy journey, maybe start to get really into spirituality, maybe start to spend more time with yourself and do more self-reflection. On the 28th, that full moon, that lunar eclipse was ending that cycle. So the reason it's becoming relevant again now is because Jupiter has been retrograde since, I think September 4th, I want to say, and having it stationed direct at 5 degrees is really doubling down on that degree becoming more relevant again. So I think whatever you let go of, closed the door on, or came full circle with in that area of your chart around Halloween, it's probably now being this, I keep saying to everybody, it's like a handoff, it's like a baton pass of whatever you let go of is now being renewed, replenished, or refilled or fulfilled with something that is far more abundant, far more expansive, gives you a new opportunity. I think that Jupiter inherently being something that, again, wants to help us, wants to give us growth, wants to expand our options. That ending is probably something that might have at first felt like a loss, or like you were letting go of something or losing a part of yourself, or even having a breakthrough. And now Jupiter is here to sort of make the ground more fertile to have something more exciting grow here. So that is what's going on for you in December. If you want to book a personal reading, I'm going to put everything that you need in my bio. You can book anything or get an ebook, or just find more information at KMONEY.biz. I hope that you have an amazing month. I hope you had an amazing year. I'm going to try to do these more every single month as we get into 2024. I hope it helps you. Let me know what you're going through this month, and thank you so much for watching.